everyone, a very good afternoon. You're watching the newsroom on ET Now. I'm Mubina Kapasi. Let's take a look at what the markets are up to, and the red on the screen continues. We are at about 11,240, 38,100 for the Sensex. And remember the handover as well from the global markets. Equities and commodities has been pretty weak, and that's really sort of rubbing off on the Indian equity markets as well. Energy is the only pack that's managing to stand out in trade, perhaps on account of Reliance Industries, which I suppose is capping the losses for the Nifty 50 as well. But otherwise, the banking index really is, I guess, the culprit because it's losing 2.5%. SBI, Axis Bank, Bajaj Finserv, all of these are the big losers in trade. But let's flag off some of the other big movers and shakers. And got to flag off the not so great news from AstraZeneca. They've unfortunately had to halt the trials on their vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine that is, after a patient who had participated in the most recent round of trials has taken ill, and that is something that's causing AstraZeneca to plummet. Yesterday as well, it nosedived. Today, the decline continues. In fact, it's gone below 4,000 rupees. That's AstraZeneca Pharma. This as vaccine trials are now paused. That's the big news maker of the day. Meanwhile, take a look at what Escorts is up to. We are seeing a massive rally come by in the stock price. It is, in fact, one of the top gainers as well on the F&O side of the market. And that's really, well, no exact or no particular trigger as such, but we did have last week rather some important, we had the JP Morgan initiation note on Escorts Limited, which did give out a very positive outlook on the company. They had an overweight with a target price at 1,450 rupees. So the rally over here is sort of continuing. And then we also do have a Dishman Carbogen, which is in focus. The company delivered its Q1 numbers, and the street seems to be a little displeased because the stock is locked in lower circuit. Dishman Carbogen has delivered a revenue figure at 475 crores, just a 25 crore drop from the corresponding quarter. But this time around, the company has delivered a loss of 21 crores versus a profit in the corresponding quarter at 34 crore rupees. We also do have an Indian Hume pipe, which I'd like to flag off, which is gaining, 2% this after the company has announced that it received a letter of award worth about 134 crore rupees from the Rural Water Supply and Sanitation in the state of Odisha, and the project is to be completed within 2 years. So there you have it. Those are all the stocks that are the big news makers of today. Well, let's move on, and in a development that could potentially disrupt the race to the COVID cure, AstraZeneca has put its COVID trial on hold. This was after one volunteer developed an illness. We spoke to a top voice from the pharma business, Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, who reminded that the pressures on expediting drug and vaccine trials are a risk, and one needs to be cautious and clinical. Listen in.
The pharmaceutical and the medical world has been talking about over the last few months. But I think people are anxious, people are impatient, and obviously everyone wants a vaccine. But I think this is a reminder as to why you cannot compress timelines and what are the dangers of compressing timelines. Because if you disregard such events and just continue to enroll patients, you might suddenly find larger and larger numbers having the same problem. And then that basically is not good for the vaccine. In fact, the vaccine cannot be approved when you see so many adverse events, which might not happen in the first month or the second month. You might even get it after a few months. That is why you have to wait. And that is why people are saying that you should not expect a vaccine by the end of the year because it's too short. As one of the leading figures in the pharma world said, he said you cannot compress 1 year's data into 3 months because this is about human lives. This is about the human body. And you have to wait for certain readouts.
Okay, well, let's move on very quickly then and away from pharma to telecom. This morning, we brought in the who's who from the telecom industry to speak about an upcoming trend, and that is increase in pricing tariffs. So listen in to a small segment of that conversation we had earlier in the day. What are the implications of that on the telecom sector?
voice was linear. It was about putting a tower and connecting. But data is all non-linear. When you actually deliver a customer experience, it's an interplay between access, storage, content, devices, digital services, security, and many more things that come together in a non-linear fashion to make that happen. That cannot happen at $2 a customer per month. It's not going to serve any purpose. So I think now to reorient their networks to go deeper inside homes, to allow work from anywhere, I think operators will have to invest, and that can only happen if price becomes a recovery mechanism for them, even if government brings on the levies, which is not on the cards right now, but they have to really self-help over here. And finally, and very importantly, 5G is staring at us. We can only delay it. We cannot wish it away. I think given all this, if we were not to double our ARPUs in the next 12 months, there'll be a serious challenge to find enough cash to then pump back into customer experience and stay competitive.
Right, fair point. Naveen, what is stopping telecom companies from considering a fat price hike? Reliance Jio has gone market share. Now they've got investors, so I'm sure they would be very critical about the ARPUs and growth of Jio business. Sunil Mittal says ARPUs are not going to sustain. Kumar Mangalam Birla has said ARPUs will not sustain. Mukesh Ambani has said that the voice business and 2G business should die down, but nobody is biting the bullet. I mean, it's like billi ki gale mein ghanti koi nahi bandh raha hai. Nobody is considering a price hike.
Yeah, so I think, so from a mobility perspective, price hike is inevitable, as Sanjay alluded to it, right? So that's something which is bound to happen. Right now, I think the situation is, it all depends on the, currently I would say that how Vodafone Idea actually play the market from here on. So there are multiple factors which are in play right now, right? What is the kind of funding that they are looking at? What is the market share which is needed for them to sustain the business? And of course, eventually the ARPU, right? So, so pricing action is just one aspect of the whole Vodafone Idea survival equation, right? So that's not the only aspect here. If Vodafone Idea increases the price and it's not necessarily followed by the others, and to that extent they will lose market share, and then sustainability is a question mark. So the larger point here is that Vodafone Idea needs to have a clear-cut business plan.
Okay, well, on that note, we'll do one thing. We'll take a very short break right here on the show. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're watching the newsroom. August has marked the second straight month of net outflows from mutual funds. That's what the AMFI data is indicating. Net outflows as well as net equities, have seen outflows come by. In fact, outflows in equities doubled to almost doubled rather to 4,000 crore rupees in August versus July. Let's go across to my colleague Jayesh Khilnani for more.
Data released by AMFI for the month of August showed that there was a slight bit of disappointment as far as the overall numbers are concerned. Not only did we see equity outflow number, but this time around we also managed to witness overall outflow number, which was to the tune of about 14,553 crores, and that registered the first overall industry outflow number that we got since March 2020. But like I was telling you, the equity outflow also was for the second straight month. This time around, it was 4,000 crores as compared to previous month, at nearly 2,500 crores for the second month that we saw an outflow number. Also taking a deep dive within the equity categories, there was the multi-cap as well as the large cap space that witnessed an outflow of more than 1,000 crores in each of those categories. The value and contra fund category also saw an outflow of about 800 odd crores, while the mid-cap category witnessed an outflow in excess of 500 crores. But that was not all. If you have a look at the equity plus the balanced fund outflow number, combined was in excess of 6,000 crores. So that's the reason we're saying that, the data has been disappointing for a second straight month. Also moving on to the total AUM picture, we had a 2% increase on a month-on-month basis at about 27.8 lakh crores. and the equity AUM also grew about 5% at nearly 7.7 lakh crores. But it was the small cap category AUM that was interesting because that registered a double-digit growth on a month-on-month basis. That was at about 10%. Lastly, the SIP contribution, which has been the driving force or the number to watch out for, that came in at about 7792 crores, registering its fifth straight monthly decline. And also, if you compare it from the top, it has now lost almost 10% of the value. But suffice to say that the data released by Amphi was disappointing.
Thank you, Jayesh, for that. Well, interestingly, on the flip side, cash momentum continues in the equity markets for August. What exactly is aiding all of this momentum? We have Soumya Sharma here with the details.
Well, it's been a few months that we're talking about the kind of increase in the retail participation within the Indian stock markets. And one category that seems to be benefiting from this is the Indian exchanges and all the trading platforms that are linked with the stock markets. Well, as far as the listed players are concerned, BSE, MCX and CDSL have seen sharp, significant up move from the March lows. Talking a little about the statistics, the cash volumes have continued to grow and show good momentum as far as the month of August is concerned. Well, as far as the NSE's cash volume average daily turnover value is concerned, it has shown a significant uptick of about 81% on a YY basis, while for BSE, the growth has been at around 75%. Not just this, almost the growth has been on an improving trajectory on across most segments on both value and volume terms on a month-on-month basis. Coming to CDSL particularly, it has grown almost 138%, pardon me, from the March lows. In fact, the demat account openings have crossed 2.5 crore mark for CDSL, and this happens to be a significant milestone for the company. Investors, somewhere this indicates that the investors are becoming more self-sufficient as far as their opening and managing of demat accounts are concerned. Analysts across the street are optimistic of the growth outlook for the company. In fact, they believe that the market share gains will be biased towards CDSL. Almost most of the new account openings are with CDSL in FY21 till date. Well, there's another fraction of analysts which, however, believes that there has been a rise in the delivery volumes on stock exchanges, but revenue can dip once retail deliveries slip on market downturn, and the volatile nature of retail cash delivery volume makes structural growth uncertain. So definitely there's this fragment which believes that there are concerns, but nevertheless there are a lot of analysts which believe that the growth momentum is quite strong going forward, and this definitely reflects in the kind of up move we've seen in the stock.
Okay, thank you so much, Soumya, for that. An exclusive air ambulance service to transport critical COVID-19 patients was launched by a Bengaluru-based air ambulance firm this week. How much does it cost? How does it work? Chandra R. Srikanth finds out in this report.
A COVID patient on ventilator support in Kolkata was airlifted to a Chennai hospital in a first such instance last week. A green corridor was created and the patient was flown out to Chennai in the air ambulance. The entire transfer took 3 hours. The patient was flown to Chennai in a COVID-safe airport by Ekakhyati, a Bengaluru-based air ambulance service. The 3.5-year-old company was founded by 2 doctors, Dr. Rahul Singh Sardar and Dr. Shalini Nalwad, 2 aeromedical specialists who trained in the UK. While its service was so far restricted to patient transfer, organ lifting and airlifting from relief camps, it recently got permission to extend this service to COVID patients.
We didn't have the permission to airlift any COVID patient so far. So we just started airlifting the COVID patient just day before yesterday, getting all the regulatory approvals, and we have imported a isolation pod called from the Germany, which has got all the certifications, which is totally leak proof. It's not just the patients. We're also able to protect the doctors and the pilots and also aviation staff involved in this airlifting. So we did India's first ventilated patient airlifting of a COVID patient just day before yesterday for the first time.
The air ambulance is fitted with a German-made isolation pod to fly the patient, a jet, a small plane and a helicopter from the fleet which is stationed at HAL airport. Apart from COVID cases, the service has so far done 63 domestic transfers, 10 international transfers and 7 organ transfers. So how much does it cost to airlift a COVID patient? The cost to airlift a patient from Bengaluru to Chennai or Mangaluru is around 4 lakh. Bengaluru to Hubli is around 3 lakh and from Bengaluru to Mumbai is 6 lakh based on the number of air miles and airport fares. The Kolkata flight, for instance, costs rupees 15 to 20 lakh.
ICAT Kyati Air Ambulance service is self-funded, and we have acquired a fleet of aircraft, a combination of fixed wing as well as as well as helicopters. And we are starting our services here in South India, is with Bangalore as the base, and we'll be covering all the South Indian states with this fleet of aircraft. In our stage 2, when we need to expand for the rest of India as well as international connectivity, we'll be looking at and reviewing the funding situation at that time.
While air ambulance services could save precious time for critical patients, the cost of operations has made such ventures prohibitive in the past. ICAT wants various state governments to help with a subsidy and a government-funded air ambulance to counter this. Chandra Ashrikant, ET Now, Bengaluru.
Okay, well, with that, we will wrap it up on this episode of the Newsroom. Stay tuned. We have closing trades coming up in just a couple of minutes from now.